Repulsion is one of Ari Aster's favorite movies, and it's often highly rated on people's movies you must see lists. I recently watched Rosemary's Baby for the first time and was completely blown away, so I decided I would delve deeper into Roman Polanski's filmography. So in today's video, I want to discuss the key aspects of Repulsion that make this one of the greatest films of all time. Upon researching Repulsion, it seemed to me that most people were hung up on the ambiguity of Carol's character, played by the beautiful Catherine Deneuve. It seemed that much of the discussion online was discussing the themes and meaning behind this paranoid and disturbing account of a woman gone totally mad in her London apartment. Don't get me wrong, it's worth researching that aspect of the film, and I myself was left with questions about the ending and then also about the irony of Polanski himself being able to repeatedly convey how it feels to be a woman in a man's world and empathize with the vulnerability and deep fears of females despite his heinous actions towards them. But the thing that piqued my interest the most on first watching Repulsion wasn't Carol's character and the symbolism behind the rabbit left out to rot, but more so the expert photography, expert use of high-key lighting, claustrophobic close-up shots, sparse mise-en-scene, and the choice to shoot this feature in black and white. So in today's video, I want to discuss the sound, style, and vision of Roman Polanski's 1965 genre-defining psychological horror, Repulsion. Polanski leaves just enough out to have you guessing and pondering the film long after you've seen it. He creates an atmosphere with every means available to a filmmaker by cleverly utilizing sound and vision as well as camera work. I want to first touch on why Repulsion could only work as a black and white film. A lot of the time, movies have niceties, things thrown in to keep you engaged or allow you to be distracted. Things that might give you a short break from the plot or having to really engage in a critical nature. This could be a needle drop, a montage, an outfit or costume moment, or just some beautiful scenery. Repulsion does none of this, and it's all the better for it too. With the absence of color, we are left with a sparse world that doesn't have any of these distractions, and that is done entirely on purpose. The nail salon, for example, could be full of vibrant color and offer us a lot to look at, but this would take our eyes away from Carol's wide and frightened eyes, the ones we begin with in the opening credits. I kept imagining for a second what brilliant 60s pastel color Carol's dress or her sister's would be, and thinking about all of the colors in Rosemary's Baby. But it's not really a concern of Carol, so therefore we don't see it as a viewer. Instead, we're in this black and white, bleak world that feels suffocating. We are in Carol's world, experiencing the paranoia and dissent from her perspective. In order to have us, the audience, feel the effect of these emotions, we need to be completely locked in on Carol, particularly her face. And that is where the lens choice and cinematography comes in to add yet another ingredient to this nightmarish Polanski picture. The same way black and white has stripped away all distractions, the choice of a wide-angle lens close up on Catherine Deneuve's face throughout is giving a warped and distorted look. This leans into the sense we get that something's not quite right with Carol. She is on edge and dissociating from the world around her. As we go on with Carol, things only get worse. And when they worsen, that close-up wide angle helps to create that panicked feeling of Carol's bedroom hallucinations. It also creates a feeling of claustrophobia, and though she is being hunted and suffocated by these men on the street, and now in her home too, she is locked in a prison of fear. She is spiraling. I was curious to learn about the choices made by cinematographer Gil Taylor, who has previously worked with Hitchcock, among others, and was one of the most expensive DPs at the time, and the ways in which the apartment scenes were lit. The ASC website had some insight. We had it built on stage, of course, and lit primarily through the windows. Brutes, often fully spotted, just blasting in. A few hidden lamps on the floor bouncing into the ceiling completed the lighting. It was very extreme. I shot much of the film with a handheld Arriflex with a very wide lens and a tiny tobacco tin on the front fitted with a wee bulb to add a bit of fill. Just enough to see Catherine Deneuve's skin in the shadows until I moved in close. Something I noticed while watching Repulsion was the high key lighting and the dynamic scenes featuring very harsh light. Black and white film generally tends to handle a more dynamic scene than color film, and I do wonder if this was part of the choice in going with black and white for Repulsion. From a technical perspective, there could have been color shifts and complications with the type of lighting used, and black and white perhaps gave the team more freedom and simplicity, as well as being the right choice to match the plot line and central characters' unhinged state of mind. I found researching this aspect of Repulsion really interesting. Polanski himself said, "Our first day's shooting left me amazed and a bit perturbed by Gil Taylor's way of doing things. He mostly used reflected light bounced off the ceilings or walls and never consulted a light meter. As the rushes were shown, however, he possessed such an unerring eye that his exposures were invariably perfect. With fairly harsh, direct light, it can leave a strong shadow which can be distracting or unflattering. So to use a bit of bounced light, which is light bounced on the ceiling or wall to bounce it back softer than it was aimed directly onto the subject to fill that shadow in and even things out, was a great choice as it prevented the scenes from getting too much of a noir kind of look. It complements what looks like a fairly harsh and undiffused light that is being directed through the windows to emulate sunlight. This technique created what is kind of an unconventional look that I think really stands alone and stands out as a piece of cinema history. Every single aspect of the way Repulsion was shot and what you are seeing on camera is so considered. The genius of Repulsion lies in its prioritization over everything else before dialogue. This is something greatly missing in films today, probably due to reduced attention spans and production companies pushing for big blockbusters that are going to make a lot of money. I also think as audiences, we have maybe become a little bit lazy and we want everything spelled out for us so we don't have to think or be challenged. I'm not going to lie, as much as I liked Repulsion, it was quite challenging to sit through, but it's supposed to be. We're watching a character who doesn't really do or say a whole lot for most of the movie. We are confined to her apartment, and the overall film leaves many gaps for the audience to fill in. We're guided towards things, but we're never really sure exactly what is going on, what the motivations are, and what is real and what is not. This is exactly why Repulsion is such a masterpiece, though, and why it sticks with you for so long. Aside from the visual aspects like the lighting and the lens choice, I was also very intrigued by the score and soundtrack to this film. We have the main track from the film called Carol's Walk, and those scenes very much echo Mia Farrow's character in Rosemary's Baby, walking through the streets confused and afraid. More interesting and unconventional, though, is the space given with silence. Most films tend to build tension with at least a sparse orchestral score to often unsubtly indicate how you should be feeling. Repulsion gives so much auditory space that the sudden appearance of music really hits you and emphasizes the scenes in which it is used in a much more impactful way than if we had more filler throughout. Also, the complete lack of sound in one harrowing and quite hard to watch scene where Carol is being assaulted, in my opinion, made it 100 times more chilling and made me feel like I was in a dream where I was screaming but there was no sound coming out, or, where you want to move but you can't. I felt really locked in. If it's not clear already, I was completely awestruck with Repulsion, and the more Polanski films I watch, the more I'm just convinced of his genius. I'm also faced with the actions of the director as a person and how starkly they are contrasted with his ability to somewhat empathize with female characters and, depict them so well in films and really relate to how they move through society. Repulsion even brings to light the fact that Carol might have been abused as a child in the final scene where they close up on the family photo of her as a young child. The closer we get to her face, the more it begs the question, is Carol's mental state the result of some kind of childhood abuse? We don't know for sure if that was Polanski's intent or the backstory for Carol, but it does kind of add up and seems a popular theory online. If there is truth to this aspect of Carol's story and character, then it makes the movie all the more disturbing considering the actions of Polanski towards a child years later. Despite all of this, Repulsion is a perfect film. weeks on from watching it, I just cannot stop thinking about it or talking about it. I'm interested to know what you guys think of Repulsion and Polanski's filmography in general. If there's one that you think I should watch next or seek out, please comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.